Hello, hello. Welcome to another ohmTown Daily News Show. Let's get going. Hello. I am Mayor Watt. That is ohmTown.com, and something's going on with that. Not sure what's going on. Anyway, I am Mayor Watt, like I said. That is ohmTown.com, and this is the ohmTown Daily News Show for October 11th, 2022. I don't know what episode this is, 284. I've already selected a bunch of articles, but I didn't really prep them, so that it's going to be a little bit clunky getting from article to article, but we'll get through it. The very first article actually is one that has been developing as TwitchCon closed down. At some point, they actually shut down the foam pit because it sent multiple people to the hospital, apparently. At first, I thought that it was just one person who did kind of like I don't know how to describe it, kind of a cheerleader kick out off of the stand that she was standing on, Adriana Chechik here. But I guess it turns out that it was more than one person. She ended up breaking her back. And there's video of it. I won't play the video, but my aggregator grabbed quite a bit of this article. It doesn't normally do that. At any rate, the way that I saw this was that there wasn't any padding underneath it. That's how it was characterized, but it looks like there was something more than just, a single layer of foam squares. But it's going to be interesting to those of us who are interested in law, because there's this whole liability thing that you can't waive your rights away if there is negligence. And so legal experts that are analyzing this are going to probably respond that there may be something there. If the inadequate steps were taken and subject matter experts weren't actually tapped to make sure that this was a safe play space for this little foam jousting thing. And I mean, it could have been innocent until people fall. And then there would be no issue. But when somebody has the chance of being hurt from doing something like, I don't know, jumping from a pillar into what they think is a safe foam pit, there is liability there. So who knows what is actually going to shake out from this, and if this was a contractor that put it together versus somebody that works directly for Twitch. This could turn into nothing more than pay medical bills, or maybe something bigger than that. Let's go over to the source. This is over at vice.com, and Samantha Cole is the author of this article. Oh, I still have music playing in the background, so you may hear that. It's my spooky music for Halloween. It'll play throughout the month. It says over the weekend, TwitchCon attendees reported injuries, some very serious, after jumping into a foam pit. That was just a layer of squishy blocks over a concrete floor. And if that's really what it was, just a small layer and not enough, then yeah, there's probably going to be some issues. Who knows? It really depends on the demeanor of those that were hurt. You know, the title hinted at more than one person, but you know, maybe it says several other attendees reported on social media that they were also injured or saw people allegedly with injuries related to the pit. So yeah. Oh no. Wow. I think after the first one, I would probably have reassessed the situation. But hey, you know, what's a few broken bones among friends? Let's move on to the next. Oh, before I do that, let me also say that I still have it in place so that we can submit articles to Showbot. If you hit !Showbot, it'll actually tell you where you can go, buddy. No, sorry. It'll tell you a website that you can go to, which is !Showbot. And you'll be able to go to ohmTown.showbot.tv and vote on the articles that you think are interesting or maybe pursue more. I'll review what the vote is, and I will take additional steps. Maybe I can do a deeper dive into a subject. I am planning to kick off the Reality Hacker channel. I'm waiting for the Pico 4 to show up. I used to have the Index, but I hated wires, and I probably will never focus on wired VR. Gone is that day and age. I think that wired VR even makes sense. With Wi-Fi 6, you have the shortwave bandwidth so that you can get a ton of data, including video. And as it evolves, so will wireless VR. So I would not be interested in wired VR from this point forward. And I'm more focused now on the deep fake, audio manipulation, video manipulation, even still graphics that are hyper realistic, artificially intelligent, machine learning type of graphics and things like that. So Reality Hacker will become a show here in the coming months, probably starting like I started this show at the beginning of next year. I've tried other shows to wrap them around something that I can stick to an hour show with, but it was really, really difficult. But Reality Hacker, I think I can do it. That said, the next article is in the Hatch Ideas channel, and there it is in chat. Cooling system provided or developed by NASA for electronics in space could be used to help charge electric cars. The electric vehicles could be charged within 5 minutes thanks to tech developed by NASA for use in space. When I talk to people about technology and business, and one of the things that I express is that heat is the main destroyer of technology and pretty much anything. Heat imparts chaos in the atomic structure of things, and as time goes on, that heat basically causes it to break apart. It falls apart. It fails. It happens to humans just as much as the electronics, although it's something that's recoverable for both parties in different ways. But a cooling system that allows for a fast charge to take place may or may not. It'll mitigate the damage of heat generation when you do power transfer charging, but it won't do away with it. It says the heat transfer system could cool cables carrying high currents, potentially allowing super fast charging without the risk of overheating. This will not come cheap, and it will not come without maintenance. I can imagine that it's going to be a liquid cooled system, but I haven't clicked this link yet. So it says the complex cooling technique, which has been developed by NASA to help certain electrical systems. So let's click this link and it'll take us over there. Beatrice Nolan over at Business Insider wrote this article, and it says the system could, in theory, allow electric cars to be charged in just 5 minutes, and the heat transfer system can cool cables carrying high currents, potentially allowing super fast charging without the risk of overheating. So in welding, we do this. we have liquid cooled welding equipment so that we can weld for longer periods of time. Keeping the welding equipment cool is pretty much mitigation technique, not anything that actually can be like long term, unless you're in more industrial setting. But you can liquid cool pretty much anything. You know, that 4090 that's coming out, that's going to have to be liquid cooled, NVIDIA 4090. At some point, if you want to play for extended periods of time, that cooling system, air cooling system, I just can't imagine putting that thing to the limit and anything coming out successful. I don't know what this little hair blanket is that they've got over here on this video on Business Insider, but it'll be stuck there for the duration. Anyway, higher electrical currents generate more heat, meaning there's more current flowing. The higher likelihood of components overheating, subcooled flow boiling. That is what the NASA Complex Heat Transfer System is known as. Can cool cables carrying high charges, potentially allowing for a faster flow of electricity without the risk of components overheating, according to the blog post. So it says in the blog post, NASA said the system had been developed to deliver nuclear fission power systems for missions to Moon, Mars, and beyond, vapor compression heat pumps to support lunar and Martian habitats, and systems to provide thermal control and advanced life support on board spacecraft. I'll have to root around to see what this really amounts to. But this would solve the biggest detractor that I have to EV technology and adoption, great adoption, is that it takes a tremendous amount of time to charge a vehicle of various sizes. It just takes too long, 2 hours, 30 minutes. It doesn't matter. The difference is negligible at that point. I don't want to sit for 30 minutes. I have to have lunch basically to charge my vehicle so I can go down the road for another 250 miles max in good weather under perfect driving conditions. 250 miles. It's just not going to happen. It's not ready. EV tech is not ready for prime time until we have early adopters. Go for it. You're awesome. Thank you very much for taking that dive, but I'm not going to do it, and I can't recommend it until I have faster charging and longer guaranteed battery life. I don't want to have to drive into the snow and the battery life dives. I don't want a bunch of stuff in my trunk and my battery life plummets precipitously like the Rivian did in a video that I watched where they were towing something. Naturally, they're towing something, but my goodness, the loss was 4 times greater than without something being towed. I understand the context of it. That's not my point. My point is, with a gas car, that isn't really so obvious that you're about to lose your you're about to lose any chance of getting home because your battery is being drained 4 times faster than when you weren't doing the work. And because there isn't a gas station right around the corner and you don't have 2 hours or even 45 minutes, it doesn't matter how much time. You don't have the time to wait. Again, EVs just don't have what it takes. And for that reason, I'm out. Sound like a Shark Tank, right? Anyway, it's an interesting article. You can go over and check out the rest of it, but suffice it to say, electric vehicles being charged within 5 minutes? Yes, please. Not sure if the sophistication of the solution is going to be adequate for end user consumption. So we'll watch it. This next article I thought was really interesting. It's in the Smack Talk channel, but it really should be in the Reality Hacker channel. A new podcast that's entirely generated by artificial intelligence has attempted to show what Steve Jobs would sound like on the Joe Rogan show. There's been a fake Steve Jobs account on Twitter before, but a new podcast from its play.ht, maybe plate? I don't know. Wants you to believe the man himself is alive and guesting on Joe Rogan's podcast. Let's click the link. William Gallagher over at appleinsider.com. That's why it was in the Smack Talk channel. A new podcast that was entirely generated by artificial intelligence has attempted to show what Steve Jobs would sound like on the Joe Rogan show. Every word on podcast AI's Joe Rogan interviews Steve Jobs is created by AI, which the developer says is an example of how artificial intelligence can learn about people. True. An artificial intelligence or a machine learning system, when you combine them, have the ability to scoop up as much information as thrown into their natural language system. The artificial intelligence can basically mash every single context that is available to the code base. So if it can figure out how to construct a sentence that would be identical to something that Steve Jobs would say, it'll say it. But it understands everything. Well, let's just say it replicates, doesn't understand. There's a big difference. It doesn't understand anything. It has the ability to take what it's programmed to do and replicate sentence structure, even detect, euphemisms, and it's just limited to the code. So, for example, the Steve Jobs episode was trained on his biography and all recordings of him that they could find online, so the AI could accurately bring him back to life. Says the company's official website at PlayHT, and I'm going to continue to call it Plate. We believe in a future where all content creation will be generated by AI but guided by humans, and the most creative work will depend on the human's ability to articulate their desired creation to the machine. I don't know how I feel about that. You know what? I can bet that podcast is going to be listened to more than mine. But I also think that there is a problem with this, and in conversation, this has come up several times that there's no anima there. There's no human. There's no nothing there except for the code. And the code is cold and callous and doesn't understand anything. It's like nature, but at least we can romanticize nature. I don't think that we have the ability to romanticize AI, because this AI is a code base that can be anything, anybody, anywhere, at any time with enough information. And I just think that I find it fascinating. That's why I created the Reality Hacker show. But I don't think that we should be, romanticizing this. It should be a tool for entertainment and for commercial purposes, yes. But they make the statement here, at Plate, we believe in a future where all content creation will be generated by AI but guided by humans, and the most creative work will depend on the human's ability to articulate their desired creation to the machine. So essentially, use natural language, kind of like Midjourney, and it will get translated into something that you are seeking the creation of. Like I would say, this is what I envision, and an artist would create it. But I don't know if this could rise to that level. But then again, 5 years ago, people thought that Midjourney wouldn't be possible, and that art is only found in the heart of the artist and through their arm or writing or painting or however you want it done. that creation is the artist's. Well, now the AI is the artist. And if you can't tell the difference, which you can in Midjourney and other AI artwork, if you can't tell the difference, what does it matter? But I know from experience that I can fake voices using machine learning, artificial intelligence. It actually isn't that hard. You can do it with phonemes and Python. Let's move on to the next article. And this next article is a couple mistakenly given $10.5 million from Crypto.com. Thought they had won contest. A court hears. So it's taken a court to actually rectify this. So money from crypto exchange from Crypto.com exchange was allegedly used to buy 4 houses worth $4 million, vehicles, art, and furniture. Police officer tells court. A Victorian woman from Australia accused of theft over a $10.5 million mistaken cryptocurrency refund has been released on bail as she awaits trial despite claims she allegedly tried to flee the country. Wow. Theva Managori. Let me try that again. Theva Managori Manivel and her partner, Jatinder Singh, appeared by video link from prison in Melbourne Magistrates Court on Tuesday when they were committed to stand trial on theft and other charges. I find this kind of interesting because if $10.5 million suddenly appeared in your account, what do you think that you would do? If you thought that you won a contest or something, if you won a lottery, wouldn't you try and find out how it was automatically deposited in your account? Where it actually came from? I'd be asking questions. These people bought $4 million worth of houses, vehicles, art, and furniture. Let's see. In May 2021, Crypto.com intended to refund Manivel $100, but was erroneously transferred $10.47 million, and the company did not notice the mistake until an audit was conducted in December. So from May all the way to December. That would make me flinch about using Crypto.com. But anyway, a worker in Bulgaria who processed the refund had entered the wrong numbers into an Excel spreadsheet. Michi Chan Flores, a Crypto.com compliance officer, told the court. Once processed, she said the refund request was sent to a payment provider in Australia, who then transferred the money into Manivel's Commonwealth Bank account. Regardless, I would have found out where it came from, where it truly came from. And if you were expecting $100 and you got $10 million from crypto, yeah. So I'm not buying it for a minute that they thought that they won a competition and then they couldn't tell you what the competition was, and they couldn't look at their bank account and go, oh, look, that refund from Crypto.com turned into $10 million. I only asked for $100. Well, she was arrested at Melbourne Airport in March, allegedly trying to fly home to Malaysia in a one-way ticket with about $11,000 in cash, which forms another charge. And then Singe pleaded not guilty to charges including theft for withdrawing the Crypto.com money from the bank. Yeah. It's a bank accident when the bank does it, but it's theft when regular Joes do it. But in this case, yeah, there's a little bit too much awareness that there's a problem. Let's move on to the next article. Marvel's Blade has been put on hold. I am massively depressed. Not really. It's a bummer, but though Marvel's been hyping up the new Blade feature for quite some time, the studio is now pumping brakes on the production as it looks for a new director because the last one decided to bow out. I spoke about this maybe a couple of weeks ago. I do the daily show, so it gets lost sometimes in the shuffle. What's going on here? Why it's taking so long? Anyway, according to the Hollywood Reporter, Marvel has shut down production on Blade entirely in Atlanta, following former director Bassem Tariq's move to step back from the project last month, while the studio hopes to start production back up in early next year after finding a new director. Here's the article over at TheVerge.com, and Charles Pulliam Moore is the author. I really want to see Mahershala Ali as Blade. I think that everything is Blade. I don't know. I dig him. So, what else can I say about this? It still isn't all clear what the studio wants to do with the character or how it wants to position him going forward, or so slowing down to figure things out might not be the worst development in Blade's journey to theaters. I just got done buying all 3 of the films on Apple TV. Let's move on to the next article, and we'll keep trucking through all of this stuff. I just purchased the Pico 4 VR. Oops. And then some VR equipment drops. Now, I'm not really into Quest, so Meta can take everything that it creates, and it's great to talk about, but I'm not about to get involved in Meta anything. But Meta announced the Quest Pro virtual reality headset at its Meta Connect 2022 conference, with it aimed at enterprise and professional market. Meta Quest Pro headset is going to be $1,500 when it comes out. $1,500. Hold on one second while this loads up. Andrew Orr is the author of this article from appleinsider.com. Formerly known as Project Cambria, the Quest Pro is thinner than the Quest 2. It fits onto a person's head using a padded plastic ring. Looks like it has a massive back brace for the back of your head. Definitely not, doesn't look like the Pico one at all. I don't know what it looks like. It's weird. It looks like it's sad, but anyway, for the fits onto the person's head using a plastic padded ring, and the battery has been moved to the rear for better balance. The new pancake lenses are 40% thinner than the Quest 2, and the company says its optics technology folds light inside the optical module. All right. Let's not get woo-woo about it. That's pretty much what lenses do. Not really fold it, but bend it in the right direction. The Quest Pro uses full color pass-through from 4 high-quality cameras on the headset to capture and display a person's surroundings while they wear the device, which is wild. It turns you into a bee. But 2 does a surprisingly good job with the stitching in VR. I'm not sure what 4 would do, but maybe you can flip from 2 sets of 2. All we need is binocular vision, not quadnocular vision. I don't know. Do I have to look like a bee? The headset uses the Snapdragon XR2 Plus chipset with an 1800 by 1920 LCD panel for each eye, 4 times higher than the Quest 2, but still falling short of the Pico. Meta says these displays offer 75% more contrast and 10% more pixels per degree of sight than the Quest 2. So what is the arc range of this? I don't see it in here. But if they don't reach 3 hours of gameplay and have 4K and what else? Sorry, I'm trying to scan this and talk at the same time. Anyway, $1,500, right? So Meta sells the Quest Pro through its Meta store for $1,500 along with retail partners in 4 countries. It's immediately available to pre-order through Meta. Yeah, I have to wait about 20 days since the release of the Pico 4 isn't until the 18th, as far as I know. Anyway, the resolution is low, and they don't say what the battery life is. Yeah, this is kind of a bummer. Anyway, comparing it to the Quest 2, meh. We'll see. The company will offer the Quest Pro alongside its already existing and more affordable $400 Quest 2 device. Meta says that the new Quest Pro targets professionals and those in enterprise for whom a higher price tag may be justifiable. Yeah. Hey, you're in a commercial enterprise, so because of that, we're going to charge you more. But really, this is marginally better, at least to me, than the Quest Pro. But the competition seems to be able to eat this alive. So I don't know. I will never win any awards from Meta. So I really doubt that they'll send me one of these for evaluation. Again, this is the Quest Pro is Meta's new $1,500 mixed reality headset. Pass-through is not mixed reality. Sorry. I don't see that for a moment. Andrew Orr is the author over at Apple Insider. I mean, pass-through is just pass-through. You're basically looking through whatever. Anyway, I'll move on. I think this is neat. It's neat even. I was talking about this recently with somebody else, and then I found out that Among Us VR was coming. Social party game Among Us rose to viral success in the midst of the pandemic. Calls to bring the game's imposter hunting gameplay to VR were immediate, and unofficial VR versions of the game sprang up in no time. Now the full-blown Among Us VR remake is on the verge of release, and it's slated to arrive November 10th, which I think that would be awesome because I want to play it. Plain and simple. Pretty easy to say. Pardon me. I've made a change in my infrastructure and things are resolving a little slow. I'll have to look into why, but it seems to be happening pretty systemically. So sorry for the delay. Normally I have this prepped now, but social party game Among Us goes VR November 10th. I don't know what the cost will be. Maybe it'll be free and you can buy things. I just don't know. On that front, a VR version of the game could be something truly special, with social VR offering such a powerful way to feel present with other people. Bringing body language into the mix could make for a wholly unique imposter hunting experience. I've been wanting this simply because it makes it more real. I think it's a fun game, but you get to observe more of the map, and so you're not really immersed. It's fun to play, but I would rather do it in VR. Then you can be a little bit more stealthy and invent, but you would have the overt fear of not seeing anybody come behind you or next to you into your field of view. You would have to risk exposing yourself or venting somewhere, and then the person running around screaming, "I know who it is," before they get deleted. Innersloth tapped one of VR's most experienced studios, Shell Games, to make Among Us VR a reality. The studio has released some 6 VR titles since 2016. Wow, that's like one a year, including popular games like I Expect You to Die and Until You Fall. No release date for Among Us VR has been announced yet, but we expect to hear more next year. But it says slated to arrive November 10th in that same article that it says it doesn't know. Is that something specific? Whatever. Okay, let's just move on. I'll treat it like a UFO sighting. Now we kind of make a big switch from fun and games to the reality of economics. Fed's Mester says that there's been no progress on inflation, so interest rates need to move higher. With little or no progress made on inflation being brought down, the Federal Reserve needs to continue raising rates, Cleveland Fed President Loretta Mester said. So let's go over to Market Watch. Greg Robb is the author of this. This is what I've been saying. This is what ARK even said, that what's happening is the Fed is ignoring leading indicators and is looking at trailing indicators for the macro understanding of what the economic situation is in the United States. I tend to agree that looking at trailing indicators will do a big disservice to future efforts to curb inflation, but you have to treat it like a prognostication. Take into everything into account and figure out, do I want to put the brakes on this based on something that hasn't manifested yet, or do I want to put the brakes on something that is happening immediately, or do I want to put the brakes based on the past? And so the Fed's objective is to figure out, are we looking at the right metrics, and thus putting the brakes on at the right time or hitting the accelerator at the right time. But it says here, at some point, as inflation comes down, then there's a typo in here, then my risk calculation will shift as well, and we will want to either slow the rate increases, hold for some time, and assess cumulative impact on what we've done. Mester told reporters after a speech to the Economic Club of New York, which is great. I love economic clubs. But at this point, their concerns lie more on, we haven't seen progress on inflation. We have seen some moderation, but to my mind, it seems we still have to go a bit further, Mester said, which that mode of speech just kind of drives me nuts. In her speech, the Cleveland Fed president said the central bank needed to be wary of wishful thinking about inflation that would lead to the central bank to pause or reverse course prematurely. Yeah, I agree. So as a result, her preferred path for the Fed's benchmark rate is slightly higher than the median forecast for the Fed's dot plot, which points to rates getting to a range of 4.5 to 4.75 by next year. I see mortgage rates still accelerating. They're going up still. The stock market is basically flat, but I hate to base anything on the stock market, because the stock market is basically big money chasing bigger money and waiting for somebody to flinch. Bitcoin is all about aspirational wealth, holding on to it, or trying to figure out a way to sell it at maximum profit and then bowing out as long as they can, hoping that maybe it'll crash and they can buy back into it. That's the whole mechanism there. It has no inherent value. It is pegged to the US dollar, and that's the only thing that prospectors basically of Bitcoin see. And gas prices continue to climb a penny to 2 to 3 a day. It really depends on which way the wind is blowing, and the stock market doesn't help, and oil prices don't help, and OPEC Plus doesn't really do anything. And like I've been saying, up until it started trading in the stock market, man, the price was $35 a barrel, and it's just greed that made it so expensive. And you can look at the history of it. It shot through the roof the moment that it started getting traded. OPEC existed prior to the 78. Actually, and even that wasn't the biggest spike. The biggest spike came before the oil embargo in the 70s. So anyway, I just don't buy any of this. I think it gets gamed no matter what. And it's just a shame that greed is what's dictating high prices. It's all profiteering. And it starts at the gas price. So this Fed thing is just exacerbating the greedy qualities of what we've been talking about in history here since we've been talking at the beginning of this year. As soon as MBAs get a hold of a business, they suppress wages, don't increase performance, The moment that you start looking at the CPI and the producer price index, it's pegged to the gas price. And if it goes up, then everything else goes up, and it goes up in tranches because every single person wants a little bit more. Because, and it's not like, oh, well, overall, my bottom line went up by 3%, so I'm going to raise my prices by 3%. No. Everything went up by 3%, so I'm going to raise it by 7%. And that's how you end up with exorbitant pricing and inflation. And there's money that's still floating around, but the rich people are investing it. Meanwhile, everybody else who doesn't have the ability to invest is spending it, and they're not seeing that money back. They're not seeing it reinvest. They're not living off of dividends and reinvestment. No. They're putting food on the table, and that money is gone, and they have to grind their way 40 hours a week. So the last article for today is in the continuity report. Kenneth Branagh's third Hercule Poirot film, A Haunting in Venice, Castina Fey. Haven't heard that name for a little while. Jamie Dornan, Michelle Yeoh, and more. In another whodunit kind of ensemble cast. The 20th Century Studios has announced the ensemble cast of The Haunting of Venice, director Kenneth Branagh's third effort in the Hercule Poirot films based on Agatha Christie novels. The new ensemble behind the supernatural thriller film is headlined by Branagh, reprising his role as Poirot. I think this sounds like another whodunit kind of thing that I am going to love. So here's to yet another Poirot movie. E.J. Penalligan, I guess is their name. And yeah, so let's see here if there's something else in here that really... Set in post-World War II Venice on All Hallows Eve, the film follows another mystery featuring the celebrated sleuth Poirot. Inspired by Christie's Halloween party, the now retired and living in self-imposed exile, Poirot reluctantly attends a seance at a haunted palazzo, when one of the guests is murdered and the former detective must once again find out who did it. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, well, that is it for today. Again, I am Mayor Watt. This is the ohmTown Daily News Show for October 11th, 2022, and I am done until tomorrow, 6 p.m. I've got to get out of here. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.